What kind of leads do you recommend, if any, specifically for a full-time agent that says, hey, I'm serious, I want the best bang for my buck, but I also want a good return on my time?
A high quality internet lead, digital lead through Facebook and or Google and or TikTok and or YouTube. Now, there's obviously multiple ways that you can generate those. I would say get with a good lead vendor who can supply you with consistent lead flow with high intent leads.
Today's guest has some amazing content on his YouTube channel, Life Insurance Academy. Mr. Roger Short, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, Doug, what's going on, man? Good to be on. Thank you for the opportunity to jump on here and talk everything life insurance sales.
Awesome. I love it. Been really looking forward to this one, man.
Yeah. It's been a little while coming. I've been watching you on YouTube for a little while, and I know when we connected, over the last few weeks and months, working up to this, there's certainly a mutual respect for what you do and what you're building and all the content you put out. I always respect people who are putting out great content. So thanks
Excellent.
for what you do for the industry.
Thank you very much. And the same to you. I can say the exact same to you. You know what? Let's jump into it. I'd like to start with a few shotgun questions. So quick questions, short kind of answers.
Mm-hmm.
As a new life insurance agent, how many dials per day should I be making?
Well, that's a loaded question. Is that a triple dial or is that a single dial? So I'm going to go with dial attempts, and I'm going to treat them as one. And I'm going to treat a triple dial as one dial. That's
Okay.
how we do it. That's how I do it. Because if you're trying to get someone's attention, you got to phone them at least 3 times to get their attention. And so if you've got 60 leads, you're going to be dialing that 180 times, but I count it as 60 dials. Does that make sense?
It does.
So for me, minimum would be 240 singles. Now, if you multiply that by 3, now you're up to close to, 700 plus, right?
Life insurance agents, if you'd like 20 life insurance appointments on your calendar every single day, all set by the clients themselves who expect to speak with you about burial life insurance, or if you'd like a copy of the free new agent remote sales file, lots of killer sales materials here. Email me at doug@ufesonline.com or just click on the link below in the description. Wow.
So yeah. 240 is the number. It takes about a minute to triple dial somebody 3 times. It takes about a minute. So if you get no one on the phone, if you got no talk time, right? No, you're not talking to anyone. No one's picking up. It's just going to voicemail. You're hanging and redialing. You can get through about 60 in an hour if you think about it. Now, if you're getting up, walking around, reevaluating every lead, looking at them, trying to figure out which ones are the buyers and which ones are not the buyers, and you're doing that between every call, you're not going to get very many done. But if your goal is to get somebody to pick up the phone, you can get about 60 done in an hour. And I would say 4 hours of dial time is going to get you plenty of conversations in that 8 to 9 to 10 hours that you're going to put in that day to have to work. So if you're not doing 240 dials, which is 240 times, what is that? 750. So it'd be 720 dials, triples. You're not really working. You're not working.
That's in a single day. Okay.
That's in a single day. Yeah. Otherwise you're part-time. What else are you doing? I mean,
Agreed.
What are you doing? Like looking at carrier information all day? I mean, we could do that.
How many exclusive internet leads would you recommend per week that a new agent purchases?
Well, that depends on what their goal is. Number one, depends on, so there's some variables on that. I will answer with, there's got to be some conditions. Is it a part-time agent? Is it a full-time agent, right? I'm qualifying this. What's their budget for their investment, right? If you got a low budget, you got to go with low intent leads so you can get more leads. Lower intent, you got to work a lot more. Those might be lower cost, but they're also lower intent. So you'd have to do a lot more of those. If you're doing higher intent leads with higher contact rates and higher conversion rates, you would need fewer of those, but your investment is going to be higher. So I would say a good dollar amount I like to base it on a dollar amount. I would say somewhere between $600 to $1,200 a week in marketing is a good number. And that would be a ratio to get you up and running to scale.
What kind of leads do you recommend, if any, specifically for a full-time agent that says, hey, I'm serious, I want the best bang for my buck, but I also want a good return on my time?
Well, a high quality internet lead, digital lead through Facebook and or Google and or TikTok and or YouTube. Now, there's obviously multiple ways that you can generate those. I would say get with a good lead vendor who can supply you with consistent lead flow with high intent leads. There's such a big variance. When we got into telesales, Doug, back in 2020, when the shutdown happened, and we were kind of forced to go from face to face to figure out how to navigate these, unknown waters for agents that were like, what do we do? I don't want to go see people. Are we considered essential services, or are we not? Like, are they going to, am I wasting money if I'm buying leads? And we had to navigate the landscape of lead gen. I was generating my own leads on Facebook at that time. So, and I knew when I first started that the algorithms have to find their ways to land on the right audience. And so, here we are 5 years later, and I will tell you that if you're trying to run your own campaigns from scratch, it's a hard go, because the results that you're going to get is completely different than if you're running those campaigns on a mature account, mature ad spend account. Because if you got a mature ad spend account with Meta, now you have an audience that it has found, and you're going to generate leads that have a higher contact rate. So you're going to have a higher through rate of conversation. So you got to find a company that allows you to do that. The original question is what type? I would say a good internet lead is a good lead, but you got to find it with a vendor who's going to give you a mature account that you're going to be able to have a dependable lead flow week after week. Another type of leads, I don't recommend call transfers. I don't. I've seen too much fraud in call transfers, Doug. We have seen it. It has become prolific in our space, and there's so much opportunity for fraud. You don't know where the calls are coming from. They're usually from offshore call centers. They're telling you they're call transfers, but there's been we have cases where agents have been completely duped, thinking they're talking to live clients, and they're not even talking to live clients. So call transfers is such a big question mark and scary space for me. And even though it seems like low-hanging fruit and easy to close business, you can get chargebacks and roll-ups in a hurry. And we can dive into that more if you want, but don't recommend call transfers. But I do like call-in leads. I do like direct calls, where clients are responding to an ad via a call, and they can get connected to you directly from an ad. And so that's different than a call transfer, though. But I do like call-ins, and I do like internet leads. Of course, back when I started, we only did mail, direct mail leads, but the price on direct mail has gone so high now. Even people that are face-to-face are using regional or even statewide lead gen for digital and creating the same opportunities. So those would be the ones I would recommend.
And let's maybe talk a little bit about more, since you let's kind of stop there. Because what you said about the transfers and about the telemarketed leads, right? It used to be you can get a telemarketed lead for really cheap.
Yeah.
I've experienced like the worst case scenario. So I've already learned through an agent who made the mistake of purchasing through they were transfers from an offshore call center who guaranteed they're scrubbed, they're clean, you're not going to have a problem. And now we've got an agent being sued.
Mm-hmm.
They're suing me.
Yeah.
They're talking about suing the life insurance carrier.
Yeah.
So what's your experience on how bad that can go, that scenario can be?
Like warning, warning. I would have a big warning sign going right across your screen right now, especially if you're clipping this out in some YouTube shorts or verticals. Warning, call transfers. It needs to be everyone's attention. There is so much opportunity for fraud. And here's the challenge with it. You get an agent who's desperate to make commissions. They're new, and someone recommends this to them, and they're not doing their homework. They don't know where this lead source is coming from. They're telemarketed, they're call transferred. Where are they coming from? Is it a US based call center? Yes, we're a US based call center. But then what they don't tell you is that their actual call centers are, in Pakistan or in India somewhere, and they're the ones who are doing the calls. They're getting routed back through a US, and then they're transferring to you, and they say, yes, we have US call centers. And when that's not the case. And there's so much fraudulent activity. There's people who are, and so we deal with a lot of carriers, obviously, at the volume of business that we do. I just got back from a meeting, in fact, with one of the leading carriers in the final expense space, and they did a 45-minute session on fraudulent activity and how they monitor for it daily and how they're looking for markers. And so things that they look for is IP addresses being utilized over and over and over again. The same bank account showing up on completely different individuals, recycled social security numbers, some of them even on dead people. Like there's so much fraudulent activity, and the call centers oftentimes are a part of it. And they're the ones creating the fraud. And to the extent where there's agents even handing over their login credentials to their own portals to have the call center, and they're actually buying applications. They're essentially, pre-sold leads, they call them, right? We're buying pre-sold leads.
That's what a red flag.
Oh my gosh, the giant red flag.
And I see, look, on a Facebook group, and someone's writing about this, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, first thing that goes through my head, okay, here's a newbie asking about this. Look, if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it's probably a fraudulent lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things. The other thing is, how do we know these offshore call centers are actually scrubbing the leads? That they're actually using a legal list.
Doug, here's my take on it. There's so much nefarious activity going on with call transfers, telemarketed leads from offshore centers, that there are so many other good alternatives. Why even go close? Why even try to get, like, there's so many great options that you can get for where you can generate great lead consistency. I mean, we have agents that we're working with and coaching that are selling $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, and they're not using call transfers. They're not using telemarketed leads. They're using call-ins. They're using digital leads generated here through Meta or YouTube or TikTok, and they're avoiding that altogether. I mean, there's TCPA compliance issues. These offshore call centers will say they're scrubbed, or we affiliated with Blacklist Alliance, and you hear all these things, and new agents get sucked into it over and over and over again. And guess who gets burned? Yes, the new agent gets burned a little bit, but if that agent is tied to a manager, and that manager has 6 or 7 people, and then they all start using this source, like I've seen situations where there's $110,000, $112,000 coming back in chargebacks and rolling up to that next upline manager, and you are putting yourself in peril. So run for the hills when it comes to call transfers, man. Run for the freaking hills, because it will knock you out of the business. If you thought trying to come up with, $4,000 to $5,000 a month for marketing was tough, try eating a $50,000 roll-up chargeback from an agent that you thought was someone good, who found you on Facebook and wanted to contract with you and negotiated this high comp. And now they're one of your top producers, and 65 days later, you can't find them. They can't. And all you got's the insurance carrier saying all of these policies canceled on the same day. 28 policies got implemented, and they got smart, Doug. They used to only deal with carriers that advanced on approval, right? So you would get advanced once the thing got approved. Now they've gotten smart where they've actually figured out a way to make the first payment through a legitimate bank account, and then they're canceling. And so the agent is getting charged back with 8 months of chargeback, and those people are walking away with money, and the call center companies are in on it. So, man, run for the hills.
Wow.
Warning.
And that's
Warning.
news to me. I never heard about that one being able to making the payment, but I mean, it makes sense. If it's a scam, it's a scam.
We dealt with one company that literally one agent had one manager had one agent that had like 18 policies cancel on the exact same day. A new agent. And how does that happen? How does that happen?
Yeah.
Well, that's obviously there's fraudulent activity there.
That's your scam.
Yeah, there's the sign.
One of the things that I preach is that you got to be consistent with your leads. So do you think agents should buy a fresh batch of leads every week, every other week, every month? What's your view on that?
No, they shouldn't buy leads every week. They should invest in marketing on an ongoing basis, and their marketing budget allocates an automatic lead gen source, which flows into their account. It's tied into their business marketing plan. Without it, they're not truly in business for themselves. They're dabbling. They're stepping their toe in the water and taking it out, stepping their toe in, taking it out. I've been in business for a long time, Doug. The only way to grow your business is with marketing. You cannot get sales without marketing. Marketing costs one of two things. It costs you time or money. You either got to, in our business, you got to have the sweat equity to go door to door, start referring and networking through all of your warm family, family and friends. And there's plenty of insurance organizations out there with low comp that want you to talk to all of your family and friends and sell them a policy, right? And there's warm market. You can do that. That's one way. That's called sweat equity. That's the time effort. The other effort is to be smart and leverage your money, your marketing dollars, to put into a recurring lead program. So when I started, Doug, I put $2,500 down on my credit card. I started my marketing. And once my first lead started coming in 3 weeks later, of course, because that was direct mail back then, once my first batch of leads came in, I was on a recurring lead order every week for $800. So $800 was being charged on my card. I didn't think about it. I wasn't buying them. It was just an automatic marketing investment going in, and the leads kept coming in. And I only ever had to put in $2,500 one time. I didn't buy leads every week. I put in $2,500 one time. I worked through the program, and then the first $800 each week that came out of my revenue went right back into my marketing pipeline. It went right back in. So I wasn't buying leads every week. I invested $2,500 up front to get it going. And then the marketing and sales engine took care of the rest, and I was able to scale up. Most agents start, stop. Try this lead. Don't try this lead. Stop this lead. I heard about a better lead. Let me try that one. And then that one takes 2 or 3 weeks to get going. Well, that one didn't work. And that agent that told me about this, he's no longer in the business. He quit because he didn't like his upline. That's who I got advice from. And they're starting and stopping. And man, it's just like, you can't get any traction. You can't get any momentum. That's not a real business owner. That's someone who's dabbling.
Consistency.
Yes, 100%.
Consistency.
Yes.
Look, I mean, I get it. I speak with agents all the time. They're always like, now, Doug, tell me about your appointments platform. They're always looking for the unicorn lead that, guess what, guys, it doesn't exist. And I'm like, one of the questions I always ask in my interviews is, over the past, if you've been doing this for a while, for a few years, how many times have you switched IMOs? And it's usually multiple times. And I think that's one thing we see in our industry, which it's just like this habitual, let me try their lead, work with this agency, see if they got the magic sauce and the unicorn lead. And if not, let's go to the next. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that just leads to more and more failure. To me, it's consistency. It's work on yourself. You got to do the grind. You got to do the dial. If you're not making the dials, then it's not going to work.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So yes, go ahead. I was going to ask you, why do you feel like some life insurance agents, go through the trouble of contracting, but then they don't even make a single sale? And I know you've seen that. I've seen that before. What do you think is going on there?
Doug, if I had a looking glass into the future of what goes on in people's minds, I think people are so undecided about what they're capable of and what's possible, but also they're sold this idea that it's going to be easy and there has to be an easier way. And the thing that they don't want to ever acknowledge is that 90% of the time it is them. It's them that's the issue. It's them that's the issue. And if they realize that, if, someone told me a long time ago that success happens when you put in consistent effective action in a specific direction for a long period of time, it will produce massive results. In fact, it is the only thing that ever has. And your consistency of action in a specific direction, good action, producing results in a specific direction over time, that will produce consistent results. And most people are looking for magic bullets. And so they're wondering whether insurance is even something that they want to do. They're probably looking at three things. They're looking at some house flippers on Facebook. They're looking at how to scale a course, and they're taking they bought 3 Instagram packages from influencers on how to sell courses to people who want to buy courses, who sell courses to people who buy courses. And there's no real product. It's just people selling courses to other people who want to sell courses. And while they're doing that, they're also getting their insurance license in case one of those two doesn't work. There's so many different variables. It's crazy to me. And a lot of people want to feel like they're busy. They want to feel like there's something around the corner for them that's got a special, golden bullet, so they can become, millionaires and own the nice cars and own the nice house within the next 12 to 24 months. And it just doesn't happen like that, man. My come up was much different than that. I had absolutely nothing, man. And I had to put in time with consistency in the same direction.
I can relate.
For a long period of time. And then people look at you and go, wow, I'm not successful like you. You're talking. And I'm like, you weren't there, bro. You were not there. You were not there on the nights that I was here till 10, 11 o'clock at night trying to figure this out. And then starting again the next morning at 8 o'clock and going till 10 o'clock. Like, Doug, I still put in hours like that still to this day. That's what it takes, man, to be successful. Or really you can buy the hype of, being an attractive girl who travels the world and sells courses on how to sell courses. And if you're not that person, then probably you shouldn't do that.
Tell me about Life Insurance Academy.
Oh man, Life Insurance Academy. That's my baby right there. Doug, I fell in love with this business. I fell in love with the business because I realized it could change people's lives. It allowed people an opportunity to take control of their financial future and take it back from the caps, the restrictions that their job had on them. And so I always said, a lot of people feel like they're stuck in a job or career that they don't love, or they're not making the money that they need to make for their family's needs, or the money that they want to make for the lifestyle that they want to live. Some people like cruising all the time. They like going on cruises with their spouses, and they love going with friends and family. And you got to make money to be able to do that. And if you work a regular job where you only get 3 to 4 weeks of vacation and you don't have unlimited income, there's only maybe 1 cruise a year you can take. So there goes that dream, or you got to figure out something else, right? And I think because the business can change people's lives, as I started becoming successful and started attracting people to the business with me, I realized that there was so many people not knowing what to do or where to go to get information. I realized there was a void. And so we decided to start the Life Insurance Academy to be a voice in the industry, to say, this is an honorable business. This is a business that can change your life. This is a business that you can create financial independence for you and your family. And you're helping when I say it's an honorable business, I'm going back here. What you're actually doing is you're helping change other people's financial future. And you're putting protection in place. And if you treat it that way, and it's not just about commissions for you, man, this is the most amazing thing. But there's too many people out there being taught to sling insurance. Sling insurance, close hard. The closers click. All the Facebook groups where they're just in there, and none of them are talking about the honorable business that we're in. They're talking about who's got the best leads, how to close more deals, who's the best carrier, and they're not talking about this incredible business or how to help somebody understand that there is a methodology to sales, and it's called human communication. And if you can see life from your client's perspective and tap into that, man, you don't have to close at the end. It becomes a natural close. And so the Life Insurance Academy was inspired out of that to teach people how to do this business honorably, ethically, with the right motivation, and become a top producer as a result of leading with those other three things. And so our entire platform is built on that. And so we teach a principled sales process. We've been teaching it for years. We launched it in 2020. We put it on YouTube in 2022. We've now been on YouTube for just over 3 years, and there's 36,000 subs now. We just hit 2.2 million views. We're getting 100,000 plus downloads a month, views. We're also on audio, Apple, Spotify, all the audio podcasts. And man, it's the comments and the feedback we get has just been such a blessing from around the world. And then I get the Sylvester Stallone comments in like every other video. So there's the thing too.
I didn't say it. It wasn't me.
There's a guy in some of our shorts. We just released, I think our producer Adam released 6 shorts from this one video clip from this one video that I did a while back. And this one guy who's watching literally went into every one of those and wrote Stallone. I mean, and then I went into one of them this past week when we were out of town, and I just put, "Yo, Adrian." That was it. So it's fun.
Who is Lasting Mark?
Lasting Mark. Lasting Mark is an organization of incredible people that I've been honored and blessed to be partnered with. Lasting Mark is a collective group. There's about 42 staff and employees in 3 offices. We are a partnership of life and Medicare agencies that came together back in 2022 to form what is now Lasting Mark. Lasting Mark has 3 income verticals, 3 production verticals: life insurance sales, health and Medicare, and then retirement, fixed indexed annuities. And we have experts in each of those verticals, and they're highly integrated with the opportunity to learn to cross-sell into all 3 of those. One of the things that I did not have, Doug, in my business when I launched it was the Medicare side. It was a part of the business I didn't really understand. It seemed like it was foreign to me. And whenever we tried to hire a Medicare agent, they didn't know how to sell life insurance. They just knew how to enroll people. And I couldn't, so no matter how hard I was like, why can't Medicare agents sell life insurance? It was just so hard for me to figure it out. But it was such a big need. I saw such a big need there. And it's the same client base. I mean, if you're dealing with somebody who's 60 plus, 65 for sure, because when they're turning 65, they're eligible for Medicare. We're dealing with the same people. The Medicare client and the final expense client, they're in the same demographic. So someone is helping your final expense client with Medicare. And so I went looking for a partner that we could round out the business with. And I found that in Brian Askins with Secure Insurance Group. And we took my former company, Advanced Team Partners, merged with Secure Insurance Group to form what is now Lasting Mark. And we have an amazing group of people. Thousands of agents around the country are now contracted and growing their business through multiple verticals. It's been a fun ride. So yeah, it's exploding, and I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'm excited to tell the story about it. So thanks for asking.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Yeah, you guys have some very interesting and exciting things going on over there, and I am really looking forward to getting a better, detailed, personal experience.
Yeah,
we'll kind of leave it at that for now.
Okay, perfect. I'm excited too.
Could you share a couple of maybe important things, or even I would say things where agents tend to fail at when it comes time to the sales presentation? And we're talking mainly life insurance or final expense with telesales.
Where in the process are we talking about? Are we talking about prior to contact, once they're on the phone with the client? Where are you looking for?
Okay, so that's a good question. I'm talking about once you start a sales presentation from beginning to end, where are you seeing like better agents doing better with their sales presentation as to where other agents failing? Maybe I'll word it that way.
Yeah. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. I think this is where a lot of people struggle, and they're looking for magic, the magic. And so when we were transitioning from face-to-face to telesales, you realize very quickly you're losing a lot of your communication ability, right? My partner and co-founder of Life Insurance Academy, Chris Ball, said, when I'm in the field, man, I was working with this. And so everybody bought. He said, everybody bought. He said, I look like everybody's favorite uncle, and I had the ability to connect with people in a very personal way. Well, when you're on the phone, all they have is your voice. Think about that. So there's some limitations and barriers there that require a new skill set, right? And so that's why a lot of people who are face-to-face find it difficult transitioning, because they're so used to relying on their whole self, their personality. I would say to those people, if they would let that come through and realize that the telesales is a new learned skill set, and you can develop an acumen and you can develop an expertise to communicate effectively over the phone with your voice and how you sell, you just have to put yourself through the process of learning how to do that again. And so here's where some of the challenges happen. Number one is the people who don't really have a good script, or they've been given a script, but they've not been taught the script. They've been maybe given a script, they reviewed the script, but they've not been taught why the script works or why those questions are asked. And so they don't understand what is trying to be accomplished here in this part of the script. And so they'll move through the script a few times, and then they realize, well, I don't know if I like saying that. It doesn't fit my personality. So they delete that part, they add something else in, and they're constantly taking things in and out of the recipe. And now you're trying to bake a cake without half of the things, and the thing comes out, like a flat board. And you're wondering, well, I did exactly everything they said. I used all of the ingredients, except I didn't have flour, so I used sugar, because sugar is sweeter, and I think that's better. And so you understand. So like they're using a script, but they're modifying it to try to fit them. They don't know why they're using a script, or they're forgetting that on the other end of the phone, Doug, there's a real person with a real need, and they're so concerned and focused on losing the sale or trying to keep them on the phone for 30 seconds that it becomes this very transactional type conversation, and they never get to a place where they can become their real selves. It's kind of like, I'll liken it to this, and I may be off on a tangent, but this is how I like to think, and I also like to teach and coach this way. Like when somebody cuts you off in traffic, right? Immediately they're an idiot, right? They're an idiot. That guy's an idiot.
That's right.
Why they just cut me off in traffic? You want to give them the bird, all these things. But yet you don't know that person. However, if you were walking in a line and someone came up and inadvertently cut in front of you in a line, and they turn around, they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And you're like, "No worries, you can step here." Or they might say, "My flight is leaving in just a few minutes. Is there any chance that I can get, because I'm going to miss the boarding, and if I miss, my wife's having a baby, I got to get home, or my parents are in the hospital, my dad's passing away, I need to get." Now you have perspective on what that is. And when you have face-to-face communication with somebody and see them as a real person, you're no longer wanting to flip them bird. It's a different experience. I think a lot of people with telesales remove the human element and only see this transactional thing, which is like two cars just passing on the road. And they're just trying to say words to each other and get an application signed before the client hangs up. Whether if you just see them as a real person and invite them in and pause for a minute and walk them through your process that allows you to get to know them, and you have a principled sales process, and you understand why the script works and what needs to be accomplished with the script, then you can actually get to a place of expertise. And so we teach a principled sales process, and it's based around 5 principles. I've got tons of videos on this stuff on our Life Insurance Academy site. I've done keynotes on it. I've broken it down. We've ate it 8 ways from Sunday. We keep putting out the same content, and people keep listening and keep learning. And I would say every good script, Doug, encompasses or should encompass these 5 things. And number 1 is belief, the transference of belief. Belief in the product, belief in what the product is going to do for them and their family, belief in the company that you're representing and that they're going to stand behind you when that time comes, and then belief in yourself that you are the most qualified person at this time to help that family. Belief, and that transference of belief needs to be there. It comes through in a voice of conviction. And when you speak with conviction and confidence on the phone, Doug, people hear it. They hear it differently than someone who's tentative and asking permission. It's a place of belief. And number two, we have to establish trust. Trust also needs to be established in the script. Well, how do you do that? You do that in two ways. Number one, by establishing authority. You need to be a subject matter expert on what it is that you're talking about, so that, again, your confidence comes through from a place of authority, not just in a know-it-all position, but in a place where you're asking great questions and you can lead them confidently, and they know, I'm talking to a guide here who knows where they're going, who's done this before, and I trust this guy because he's very credible. And number two, the way we establish trust is through empathy, understanding someone's situation. And we do that by understanding the story. I say, get to know the story of their lives. Everybody has a story. If you take a few minutes to get to know their story and share a little of yours, the walls go down, trust goes up, and you have an opportunity now to have a conversation about what really matters, which is number three, the stakes. We get into the stakes. This is the third principle, the stakes. What's at stake? What is there to gain, or what is there to lose? Stakes are what is there to gain, what is there to lose, and people buy more out of fear of loss than they do out of opportunity for gain. So talk to them about who's going to be impacted the most if you don't have something in place. Don't just say, why are you looking for insurance? Well, I don't have any. Well, is that something you want? Well, yes. Okay, great. Well, how's your health? Boom. We move right into health. Next thing, we're doing underwriting and pitching a quote. We have no idea who's going to be impacted or why they need it. And so when they say, I want to think about it at the end, you think that was legitimate. When in fact, you just didn't get to know why this mattered, why it was important to them. And so you have to get to the stakes. And if your script doesn't get to the stakes, you're missing a significant element. And then we need to provide the options. What are the options that people have to consider in their script? And so we need to take some of those off the table. What are some of the options? Well, one of the options, Doug, is people can say, I want to think about it, which means they want to do nothing. That's one of their options. They're actually thinking about it while you're on the phone with them. They're just thinking, I just want to get this price so I can get off the phone and I'll deal with it later. That's literally one of their options. So let's us address that option. Don't leave it up to them. Let's say some people say they want to think about it. You raise the objection before they do. Be smart about this. You get it all the time, so let's figure this out. That's one of the another option that they might have is going to a funeral home and buying a plan. We used to have to cover this all the time in face-to-face. Why is it not an issue now? Bring it up. Talk about it. Talk about why these plans that we offer are better than the funeral home plans. And then lastly, you can put in a final expense plan in place. So that these are some of the options. And then lastly, you need to provide the solution. And a client wants a confident guide to lead them to the place where they know they need to go. They don't want to be sold, but they do want to buy, but they want the advice and guidance of a trusted advisor. So be the trusted advisor and lead them confidently to help them make a simple decision in the off-ramp to close them. And if your script encompasses those 5 components, you've got a script that works. But if you're not being taught why the script says this here, this covers belief, this establishes trust, this is where we discuss the stakes, this is where we're narrowing down the options, and this is where we provide the solution. And if you're not covering that and you don't know why, the agent is all over the place. And so they struggle. Oftentimes it's leadership, community, training, coaching. Those are the 4 things. Leadership, community, training, coaching. If you got those 4 and you've got a structured sales process, you can be successful in this business. And it's an incredible business.
Awesome. That was really, really good information. Let's talk about agents that are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned before, I, on a regular basis, and I know you do also, speak with agents that have been in the industry for years,
Mm-hmm.
and they tend to switch IMOs over and over and over and over again. Then you've got the other agents who will tell you they've been in the industry for years, usually the better agents. It usually works at they've only been with 1 or 2 IMOs, and that's where their contracts are. That's where they're doing their thing. So what do you think is the difference between the agent who's moving around a lot versus the one who's figured it out?
I would say the one who's figured it out understands the value of community and coaching and a pathway for growth. Okay. And they found that. And they found their people. They found their tribe. They found their community. And that community of people, I would say the community you're referring to as an IMO, but I'm saying within that IMO, there's obviously lots of different agencies and different support networks. And so I would say there's two types of organizations typically that you'll see in the IMO space. There is a brokerage group, I would say, who are seeking the highest contracts and some sales training and leads. That's what they go after. And it's almost always in that order too. And I had an interview, Doug, with a young man who flew down to Atlanta to see me. I was speaking at an event down there, and he's from New Jersey. He hit me up on my YouTube channel and said, I understand you're going to be in Atlanta. If I fly down there, can I take 20 minutes with a coffee or dinner and meet with you? And I said, absolutely. And so he came down. Of course, I had an opportunity for 6 or 8 other people, and we sat around in the hotel bar area, and I just met with people for 2 hours and answered questions. And he sat right next to me. He said, if you were starting all over again to build an organization or to start an IMO, what would you do first? He said, would it be negotiating the carrier contracts? Would it be getting the lead program set up? Would it be the technology, implementing your tech so that you have the best tech and resources available? Which would it be? And I said, it would be none of those. And he was like, what? I said, no, it would be none of those. I said, I would try to find the best people to align myself with, who had industry knowledge, who had knowledge in an area that I didn't, that I could align with, and in some way we could partner together to build something special. I said, because if you're aligned with the right people, you can figure out how to build the right systems. I said, but if you're going after a carrier contract first, you may be missing out on so much other stuff. Because how do you get the best carrier contract? You go directly to the carrier and you talk a carrier into giving you a direct contract. Is that the best contract? Well, it might be the highest contract. That's going to come with some requirements. They're going to need you to do a certain number of volume levels. And if you don't maintain it, they knock your contract down. Now you're screwed because you committed contracts to other people and you can't maintain it. Generally, only small, I would say less stable carriers will even do that anyways, right? The bigger, more established ones, they want to go through a distribution channel because they don't want to deal direct with an individual agent. So if you go looking for a direct carrier, you're missing out on so many things. The people who have success, Doug, are people who found their tribe and found their community, and the people who value that. The people who keep hopping around are people who put no value in on the community and a place to grow that has a pathway forward for them, where they're going to get regular coaching, teaching, training, guidance, mentorship, leadership, and a bunch of good people who are going to stand by their word. They have integrity. They do things right. They have a culture of honesty and transparency. They work really hard. They show up for people. They don't let people hang, and they create an environment where people want to be a part of that environment and that movement. And I can think of organizations who focus on top comp. That's what they lead with. And guess what? If someone comes to you for top comp, guess what they're going to leave you for? They're going to leave you for comp. They're going to go somewhere else. 5 points. Because they've had no value in the community, no value in the training. It's just about the comp. And those people are typically lone wolves. I call them lone wolves. And they keep hopping around. But I would say the people that are growing and thriving, the people that are really making big strides in this business are people who find a community of aligned professionals who operate at a level of consistency and integrity that allows them to grow something that's sustainable and scalable. And then you can provide that support. So I've seen brand new people that come in. We've got a young man that we're working with right now. He's actually in the other room on the phone right now, on the phone dialing. And he came from another organization. He was getting very little support. The upline was in another state. And then his upline left the business and he didn't even know he left. And then he was reporting to someone else and he didn't know where the support was coming from, heard us on our podcast, decided, hey, how do I get some coaching? And I said, well, and found out he was right here in Louisville. I said, come on in and meet with us. And we pointed him to another organization, got him plugged in. And now he's on daily live dial Zoom calls. He's in a community. He's got a script. He understands the principled sales process. He's got connected with his tech. He got connected with a better lead source. Like, we gave him an environment where you can thrive. And and pointed him to a group that was going to support him to help him thrive. And he just did $30,000 in a month, in production over the
Nice.
phone. And his biggest month before that was less than $6,000 in a month,
Sounds
so
familiar, right?
just a massive difference. So I would
Wow.
say it's the people who find a community and value the community over those other things. Now, there's nothing wrong with improving your comp. There's nothing wrong with looking for better leads. But to me, those are not the biggest factors. The biggest factors are, am I with a community that can provide support, and a community where I can grow personally and professionally, where I can be plugged in on a regular basis and learn to win when adversity hits, because adversity is going to hit.
Yeah, and I think that's hard. I hate to say it. That's hard to find. Why? Because that's basically what most organizations are claiming that they have. And I do believe that that's where you really got to do your homework, your due diligence. And I feel like a lot of agents don't do that. And then next thing you know, we're in a position, and I've been there. I was there 12 years ago or so. I went and aligned myself with a company because they sounded like they had the whole package. And my main thing was I wanted leads. I was already producing. I didn't really need much training. And so I go to them, and it ended up being that they couldn't even get me any exclusive leads. And then they wouldn't release my contracts.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, that was fun. Okay. Last final important question. You've got an agent who's been in the business for less than a year, and they have concluded that they want more. They want to look at that 5-year plan, that 10-year plan. They want to build a future, an agency. They want to grow their own agency. What advice do you have for me?
I would say that person needs to either, number one, have been in a business model before where they know how to grow and scale. And typically that's not the case in most of those agents who are wanting to grow and they want something more. In fact, just asking me that question gets me excited, because those are the people that we look for, on our agency side with Lasting Mark. Those are the kind of people that we're looking for, because there's plenty of agents who can go write $15,000 to $25,000 in a month, plenty of them, and you can add them. But boy, when I get somebody who says, man, I want to grow with you, how can I be a contributor to your team? And how do I grow my own agency in partnership with you? Is there a way for me to do that? Doug, when I first started, that's what I was looking for. So my backstory, and I don't know if we covered this on our pre-call, but I moved here from Canada and started a Yellow Pages company with a friend of mine on a whim. I mean, we had no money. We were bootstrapping the whole thing. It was crazy. And I was traveling back and forth. Right now, I wouldn't have had the right visa, and I probably would have been asked to leave the country, with what's going on in our climate right now. I thank God that, I got through all of that. But, 9/11 happened a month after I moved here and started the business. And so things got tough after that. But I did get the right visas. I did, obviously, that all worked out. And I've been here now for 21 years from Canada. And I've never applied for a job, by the way. I've only ever actually had opportunities for other people to go to work. So that's the great American dream, isn't it? But I came here and we had a Yellow Pages agency that we invested in. And over a period of time, even though we started from nothing, we actually got it to a place where 3.5 years later, we had private equity money investing in us. There was 5 partners. And then they came in as the 6th. And we added one other private member. And they infused, a bunch of capital into our business. They bought 75%, and we were able to grow from 2004 to 2009 from 18 million in revenue to 62 million in revenue. And in 2009, you and I are both old enough to remember what happened. We hit the mortgage market crash and everything changed. And at that time, the principals of the private equity group were more concerned about the return for their investors on the PE side than they were on our customers, and they were on our internal sales team that we had built. This organization of 260 reps across 8 states, 48 markets. We were heading towards 100 million in revenue, not in AP, but in revenue. And that was a phenomenal task. But in 2009, 2010, when they switched the priority and came in and wanted to start making all the decisions, and now being a minority shareholder in your own company that you started and built from scratch, along with 4 other dudes, you realize I just lost control of the thing. I don't own the thing. I'm barely can influence the thing, and I don't like our culture anymore. And man, I went through a period of about 12 to 18 months where I had to do some soul searching. Am I in alignment with the vision of this company anymore? And I realized I wasn't. And so I literally resigned that position, walked away, and I found the insurance business. And when I found the insurance business, I was getting in the industry to start over again, to learn how to sell life insurance, because I'd never done insurance sales before. Now, we had a big sales organization, so I've been teaching and training sales for a long time, but I knew nothing about life insurance. I didn't know how the carriers worked, didn't know how the leads worked yet, had to figure it all out. So I gave myself 18, 24 months to just figure it out, because you've got to give yourself time. And I contracted with a group out of Texas. I won't say their names, but I know them now. I actually know the principals of those companies now. And in fact, I had conversations with some of those people last week at one of those meetings that I just referenced earlier. And we laughed about it. Because when I came there, they thought I came to show up to sell life insurance. What I was coming to do was learn how to build another agency, a national agency. And so I was saying one thing, they were hearing another thing or seeing another thing, because my production was fairly high. So they just saw me as a great new producer and didn't bother to ask the next question. Why are you here? What do you want? How can we help you get what you want? Of course, what I wanted was, how do I build a national organization and have a national contract in partnership with you to do that? And what I found out, Doug, was I was stuck. I was stuck in a hierarchy grid, right, of comp. I had 2 or 3 people above me who weren't even present anymore that were making overrides off my production. And the next guy up that was helping me was like 4 levels up. And I realized that I could only go so high. Someone had to die, quit, or get fired somewhere in order for me to grow my compensation to be able to create a model. And so I went and found a new group to work with. And when I did, I called the company and I said, hey, I'm moving on. And they said, why? And I said, because I called you 3 or 4 times trying to figure out how to get this national contract, and you had no pathway for me to do that. Mm-hmm. And so long story to answer your question, but the question was, what do you do about someone who wants to grow? You have to find a place that has a pathway for you to grow, and an incentive or a desire on the leadership of that organization or the group that you're partnered with to be able to help you grow, right? To be able to help you grow. And so if they see you only as a sales producer, they can only help you grow so much in your sales, and eventually they're going to outgrow you. And once you no longer are bringing value to them anymore, guess what? They look for 5 points more here or a better lead source there, and then they move on. Or if they're trying to grow an agency and that's not a priority of the organization that they're with, they go somewhere else where that is a priority, and they find out how to grow an organization and hire agents. And so I left and went and got new contracts somewhere else that allowed me to start adding people. And it was 3 months after that, I found Chris Ball, who's now my partner and co-founder of the Life Insurance Academy. And then ultimately Zach McElwain, who's also a co-host on the Life Insurance Academy and who's also a partner with Lasting Mark. And so that led to one relationship after another. But you have to find an ecosystem that has a pathway for you to grow, a desire for you to grow, and a system for you to advance and grow. And if you don't have that, it's kind of like being in a family where they don't really care if you show up for dinner ever or not. And so after a while, you just stop showing up.
That makes sense.
But man, when they have a family meal every Sunday night and everybody gets together and it's big and it's important and people put value on it and they want you there and they want your family there and they want your kids there and your grandkids there, everybody wants to be there. And it feels like a movement. It feels like something special, and something special is happening. So I would say You have to find a home that fosters growth.
Excellent. Excellent. Roger, a lot of great information. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much we didn't cover, and we're just touching on it. So we're definitely going to return the favor and have you on the Life Insurance Academy podcast. So for those of you that are watching Doug's channel right now, watch out for this guy, because I got a bunch of questions for him too, and I'll put him in the hot seat and ask him all the questions. Doug, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure.
Same here, man. Thanks. Have a good one.
All right.